Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
They always manage to effectively run the ball, right? You just don't know which running back it's going to be from week to week that's going to get the touches.
Literally, I couldn't even name you their running back because every week it's a different guy. And whoever it was last week might not even be on the team next week.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Belichick's going to come out and just try to run the ball next week. He's just going to... We'll see. Because if it's effective, he's going to run the ball 40 times.
Right, for sure.
You're listening to the Skip and Josh podcast with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
I'm Josh in Toronto.
And I'm Skip in Montreal.
In today's episode, we talk about elevator B-roll.
We lift the ban on the NBA.
And we recap Duke's week in college basketball.
But first, let's start with some overtime football.
Okay, Skip, this is going to be a very difficult show for me to record this evening because I'm very, very angry about the events of the last hour.
Let me just set the scene. It's currently 10:26 on Sunday night, and we've just, we watched separately, but the AFC Championship game just finished, and the Patriots advanced to yet another Super Bowl. And I didn't have any rooting interest in any of the four teams playing today, but I was rooting against the Patriots. But just talking to you for the literally 1 minute before we started recording, like we never started recording so quickly as we just did today. We didn't even say 2 words. He said, let's just get to it. And you're like, it's as if your dog died.
It's terrible. You don't understand. First of all, the fourth quarter and the overtime were very nerve-wracking for me, number one.
Both teams, yeah.
Number two, I don't care about the Chiefs. I hate the Patriots. The only team or athlete that I hate as much as the Patriots is Tiger Woods. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who I like to see lose more, either him or them.
Right.
I'm tired of the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I can't believe I have to hear about them for the next 2 weeks now.
2 weeks. It's bad. 2 weeks. We have the extra week.
And that game was winnable by the Chiefs if they could just play some defense.
Well, we knew from the beginning that was the whole problem. Like, the Chiefs are not like a well-balanced team.
But listen to this. This is how little I know about football. I thought they fixed the overtime rule where if you win the coin toss, you win the game. Turns out they didn't fix the overtime rule because one team didn't have a chance to touch the ball in overtime, and that should never happen in any sport at all.
The rule changed in 2017, so it's been 2 years. It does suck if you're a Chiefs fan because you didn't even get to have the ball. The rule changed in that you can't win the coin toss and win with a field goal. You have to. The only way you can win is with a touchdown, right?
Still, they should fix it again or fix it better.
What would you do?
Well,
what would you do?
You know what?
College rules?
Yeah, college football actually, and the Canadian Football League for that matter. Those are better ways to decide a winner of a game.
I guess it's it's more fair because both teams definitely get to touch the ball on no matter what.
Look. I'm going to interrupt you for a change here. In basketball, both teams touch the ball in overtime.
You can't compare the same thing. Basketball is like
in
there's
hockey.
a 24-second
in
shot
hockey,
clock.
Both teams touch the puck, and in baseball, both teams get to have at bats.
Yeah.
So this is the only major team sport, where one team might not even get to touch the ball.
Yeah, no, obviously, look, I went through this as an Eagles fan this year. The Eagles lost an overtime game to the Cowboys this season where they didn't get to touch the ball in overtime. The Cowboys held the ball the whole time, marched down the field. That's the game where Amari Cooper caught that deflected pass up in the air and got a touchdown. It's the same situation. It sucks. It definitely sucks. If you're a Chiefs fan, you're like, look.
Hockey has different overtime rules in the regular season and playoffs.
Yeah.
And I'd be okay if the NFL did that, where maybe during the regular season, first of all, a game can end in a tie in the regular season.
The only difference they had in the playoffs, there is a slight difference to the rules in the NFL in that the game can't end in a tie. So it's like 4 15-minute quarters, basically.
Right. But the other difference should be that both teams should get to touch the ball.
Yeah, even if they scored a touchdown now, Kansas City should have to get a touchdown to score, right?
I think so. Anyway.
Even if you don't want to do Canadian football and college football rules, Kansas City should get their chance to reply, right?
That fourth quarter, my heart rate changed in so many directions, because at one point you thought, oh my God, the Patriots are going to win this game. And then you thought, oh, the Chiefs are going to win this game. There was that play, the kickoff, where it looked like Edelman touched it and then he didn't touch it. And then there was interception. And then there was the other interception after that one, which was overturned because of a penalty. I was freaking out.
Both teams thought they had the game won more than once.
Several times.
Yeah. And then when Mahomes got the ball back with 32 seconds, I mean, they only needed to get a field goal, but still, it's only 32 seconds, right? I mean, it's not like, and actually, the Patriots should have won, because do you see Bill Belichick throw the Microsoft Surface computer?
No, I wish I had seen that.
Well, the play that set up the Kansas City field goal was not the Kansas City field goal, earlier in the game. I'm getting mixed up because there were so many lead changes. But the play that set up the Kansas City touchdown, where Kansas City went ahead for the last time they were ahead, Sammy Watkins caught a pass along the sideline, so it was kind of wide open, right?
Yeah.
But when they showed the replay, it was a pick by the other receiver. He blocked the defender. He blocked the defensive back like pretty hard. And Bill Belichick was fuming. He was screaming at the refs. Actually, I mean, it should have been a penalty against Kansas City. That play shouldn't have happened. Should have been offensive pass interference. Bill Belichick, after Kansas City scored, was showing the ref on the Microsoft, the blue computers that they use. He was showing the ref on the computer, look. And then the ref didn't want to look at it, and he threw it on the ground.
I wish I'd seen that. I'm sure they're going to show it somewhere, like probably 17 times between now and then the Super Bowl. I'll see that play.
Aside from all the back and forth and whatever, there's all kinds of weird stuff when the Patriots play. Like, what the hell is Tom Brady's coat that he wears on the sideline that's 18 sizes too big for a normal human?
That's because he has to make it fit over all his equipment.
All his equipment, you could fit 4 guys inside that coat. His whole offensive line could be in there.
But all those football coats, they're all huge. Like,
I know, but
it's like one size fits all. They don't tailor
Brady's
them.
Is like oversized. It's like, I don't know what's going on.
Because he wants to look like Darth Vader.
He does. He really does, I think. Anyways, look, I know you hate them, and it sucks that they're in the Super Bowl, even from my perspective. But you have to respect them. They're so freaking good. The
only good thing about this is now I actually have a reason to watch the Super Bowl, and I have a team to root for. That's it.
Couldn't care less. You know what's the most frustrating thing is? We were like one play away from having the Super Bowl that everybody wanted.
Yes,
which was the Rams and the Chiefs.
That's exactly what I wanted.
The rematch of the Monday Night Football, the 54-51 game. That's what everybody wanted. And now we're stuck with the frickin' Patriots again.
And by the way, that's never going to happen. LAKC, if it wasn't going to happen this year, it's never going to happen.
Well, you don't know. I mean, they're both really good teams. They're both young with young quarterbacks.
I know, but remember what they said about Andrew Luck when he was young, that the Colts are going to be great for the next decade, and then look what happened to him.
You don't know.
You don't know. Like, Mahomes could break a knee next week and never play again.
Yeah.
I don't think you can actually break your knee. I'm not a doctor.
You could fracture your kneecap. You could do that. So, I mean, what do you want to say about the game? I mean, it's like we talked. First of all, everything we talked about 2 weeks ago was like exactly what happened in this game. The instant replay and the technology is way too far ahead than the game. Like, do you see how much they tried to zoom in on that Edelman to see if he touched it or not? It was so zoomed in that you couldn't see anything.
But they did make the right call. He didn't touch it.
I mean, do you know, are you 100%
I am
sure?
actually 100% sure. I've seen every angle and he didn't touch it.
Okay, there you go. And then, I mean, I think all the replays were called correctly, but it's just the frustrating thing is there's pass interference penalties and the roughing the passer penalties are the most frustrating thing. There was that roughing the passer penalty on Brady that was a joke. The guy barely touched him. He reached around and happened to hit him in the shoulder, and they thought that they hit him in the face, and then they call roughing the passer. And then
they can't review penalties.
No, you can't review penalties. And every play is pass interference, every single play.
Yeah.
The Chiefs did that. The Chiefs were holding receivers on every single play. And they called them when they could, How did you like Tony Romo today?
You know what? I mean, because now that I'm used to him, it doesn't
Doesn't faze you.
It's not that it doesn't faze me. It's like when I first heard him the first time last year and even the first time this year, I'm like, who is this guy and why doesn't he shut up? But now I'm kind of used to him. So it's like, okay.
He called many plays before they happened. Like on the last drive in overtime before they scored the touchdown, he was like, okay, but he's like showing you everything that's going to happen. And he goes, yeah, he definitely could hit Edelman over the middle here. And then bang, Edelman over the middle.
So if he's so good at that, he can't, like, how does the defensive coordinator on the opposing team not know that?
They should know. But I mean, on that particular play, if you just want to look at it play by play, I mean, yeah, they knew Edelman's going to be there. It's just that the guy who's covering him was literally like 1 inch behind, and the throw comes in perfectly, and there's still nothing you can do. Like, what can you do when Chris Hogan makes a catch with one hand? You can't defend it any better, you know? Mm-hmm. But the play that he really called that the Chiefs are going to rue the day is before the overtime when Gronkowski went down along the sideline. Mm-hmm. Because Romo called that. Everybody knew it. Gronk was split out wide, and they knew it was going to be a jump ball situation. And like, you can't defend him in a jump ball situation. He's too tall. He's too strong. His hands are great. So it's like, what are you going to do? The only way to defend it is to have like a pass interference, which the defensive back doesn't want to do. You know. It's frustrating. I think if you're a defensive back in the NFL, it's the most frustrating position because you can't win, right?
Well, I mean, they've changed the rules to make it better for the offense. Every sport has done that. So,
but there's no way to stop opposing receivers other than like taking a penalty most of the time.
Yeah, well, that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to make it easier on the offense.
A lot of offense, but the quarterbacks are so aware of it that there's like the pass interference has become a weapon. I'm just going to throw it up and hope for a flag.
And that's why you see scores that are 40-39 or whatever it is.
Do you think they should ever consider like what the CFL, I don't know if they're still doing it, where you could challenge a pass interference call?
Okay, and so you can do it in the CFL?
They did it. I don't know if, look, I haven't watched the CFL for years, but there was a thing where you could challenge, and the CFL had it even going further than that. You could challenge when the flag wasn't called if you thought that it was pass interference.
No, you know what? Probably not a good idea because they stopped the game too much as it is.
Oh,
by the way, this is Exhibit A of why you should never go to a football game.
Oh my
because
God.
If you're sitting in the stands, like imagine you were watching this game at home and it took forever, but at least you're home and you can do things during commercials. Like imagine you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, especially in the cold.
It's not just that. Like, imagine that play when they're reviewing Edelman's did he touch it or not. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't see all those replays when you're sitting there at the stadium.
Actually, I think they started showing them now.
Yeah, but do you think they're showing those extreme close-ups like that?
No. They don't have that capability on the
you don't know what's going on in the stadium when all that stuff's being reviewed. You don't see all the millions.
Unless you're in a private box and you've got a television in there.
I guess, but I mean, it's minus $1 million below. You're freezing, and you don't even know what's going on. Actually, you're right. NFL's probably better on TV right now.
Oh, for sure.
Especially with all sports. I mean, big screen TVs change that, right?
Most sports are better on television.
Hockey's still great in game.
I actually said this to somebody on the phone today. I'm surprised that all these games are sold out, especially with the price of tickets these days. I can't. Yeah. It stuns me.
But we're an event-driven economy now. They call it the gig economy.
I don't even know what that means.
The gig economy means something else. It means, like people don't have jobs anymore. It's like freelancers and you're just working gig to gig. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it applies to sports in that like people just want to be there. It's the Instagram moment. You want to take your picture on Facebook and check in at the game, and you want to check in on Instagram and put your picture at the game in the stadium. When you with your friends, all dressed up in the jerseys. And
can I go off on a tangent for a minute here?
For sure.
You mentioned Facebook. Guess what I did today?
You logged on Facebook?
I logged onto Facebook for the first time in I think months, and I deleted a bunch of photos that I had posted years ago.
Yeah? Why? You're worried that they already own them, so it's too late.
No, it's not that. It's like, someone's going to Google me if I go for a job interview, let's say.
Right.
There's certain pictures I don't want them to find. And not only that, most of the pictures that I deleted, in fact, maybe all the pictures I deleted, were not just me. They were me with a friend of mine, or me with someone that I met, or me with someone that I know. And so I never asked any of those people, hey, is it okay if I post this picture on Facebook? Of course,
people just assume, yeah.
You know,
but you should set your profile to private. You should set your profile to only friends can see your profile.
Well, maybe I'll do that
way,
too.
If people look you up on Facebook, they can't see anything.
Well, maybe
except for like your profile picture.
No, I'll you're right. I should do that. But, you know, at the same time, I never asked any of these people if I could post pictures of them. You're in some of them too, by the way, when we went to Vegas.
My kids too, probably.
No, I don't. I didn't post any pictures of your kids.
Mm-hmm.
You may have posted pictures of me with your kids, but I didn't.
I did, yeah.
Anyway, back to football.
That's a story for another day. All right. Before we go to the Saints-Rams game, which feels like it happened yesterday,
mm-hmm.
You have any more to add about the Patriots and the Chiefs?
What am I going to add? I mean,
there was so many.
The game started off terrible. They got a 14-0 lead. But then when the Chiefs came back and took the lead, I thought, oh, this is going to be a carbon copy of the early game. The team that got off to the early lead ended up losing, and a carbon copy of the Eagles game last week. They got off to the early lead and they lost. So I was like excited, and then all my dreams and hopes were dashed.
They were dashed. The first drive the Patriots had was like, I was like, oh, this is going to be, it's already over. When it was 7-0, but they used up almost all the first quarter. And I was like, this game's over. Like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. And then the Chiefs went like 3 and out. Patriots got the ball back. They drove all the way down the field. They were inside the 5-yard line. And I'm like, when they score another touchdown here, the game is really over. And Brady threw a stupid interception. Like right at the goal line, he threw it into the linebacker's hands. He was trying to do like a little lob pass. And I was like, that may have saved the game for the Chiefs there.
Well, clearly it did.
It did it. I mean, for the time being, it did, you know, but yeah. Anyways, look, I don't know. It's going to be for me, it's just going to be the most boring Super Bowl. I hate the Rams. I think I just can't stand them. I hate their coach. I think he's a moron. Everyone loves him. You know, he screwed up today so many times, but no one's calling him out on anything, you know? So,
hold on. Are we talking about the Rams game now?
We could segue to the Rams. Look, for me, it's like, I don't like the Rams. I don't like the Patriots. I don't know who I'm rooting for. I don't know who I'm rooting against. I don't know if I'm not even really going to watch the game. I'm going to watch the game because I'm going to be at a Super Bowl party and it's going to be on.
Do you know where you're going to be? Like, do you know you have plans already?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's not 100%, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
By the way, I don't know where I'm going. By the way, I as soon as the Patriots game ended, I realized it's New England and LA. It's the Red Sox and the Dodgers. It's the Celtics and the Lakers.
Oh
it's
my God.
Like only 2 cities appear in championships. It's insane.
That is pretty amazing. No?
It's crazy.
That is pretty amazing. You're right. So, like I said, the Saints-Rams game seemed like yesterday. It seems like so long ago. I barely remember what happened in the game, to be honest, other than the Saints really got screwed on that pass interference call that wasn't called.
They did get screwed.
They really, really got screwed.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we were talking about pass interference just a minute ago, and we're saying that there's pass interference on every play. It's difficult to be a defensive back. It's difficult to be a ref because it's a very difficult play to call. But that one was clear.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not pass interference, then there's no such thing as pass interference, right? It has to be.
You're absolutely right. And they did get screwed.
And I saw Sean Payton after the game, an interview, and he was pissed because he really thinks they got screwed. He really thinks they got screwed, and they did, you know, and they really did.
I actually feel bad for Drew Brees because, you know, I don't know how many more years he's going to play, and he's had a very good career, and he's only got 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and I would have liked to have seen him win another one.
I would have, and like when you say he doesn't have many years left, his arm doesn't have many years left. Like, do you see he's still a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong, and what I'm about to say doesn't diminish how great he is, but he doesn't throw the ball well. Right?
He does throw it better than Phillip Rivers, though.
Yes.
Who I also feel bad for.
It's about the same. But, like, he can't throw the ball deep. You saw today when Breeze threw the ball deep, there are, like, these ducks, and they're floaters, right? Mm-hmm. And I think what changed the game for the Rams is that they gave them the deep ball because they know he can't do it, right? So they condensed all the defense closer. They took away all the short stuff because they know he can't throw it deep.
Yes, but the Saints can still put up 45 points a game.
I mean, he's like, look, I told you this so many times, I've said this on the show so many times. What makes a great quarterback? It's not that all the throws they could make. It's not how fast they are. It's not how big they are. It's not how hard they can throw the ball. All that is important, right? But the number one thing is, how do you make, like, it's your making decisions in a split second. That's what makes a quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? And Breeze is better than anybody. He gets back there. He looks at the line. He knows what play he's going to do. And like, he doesn't get sacked. The ball's out in 1 second. That's also what makes Brady great. They didn't sack him today.
I'm really, really worried about this Super Bowl.
Worried in what way?
Because like, I would feel better if Sean Payton was coaching against the Patriots and Drew Brees was playing against the Patriots. I'd feel a little bit more comfortable.
What about McVay? You don't like...
Oh, no, I think he's a good coach and he's obviously done some great things. But I mean, how many Super Bowls has he coached? None. How many Super Bowls has Jared Goff played in? None.
None. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, if there's anyone who can out-scheme Bill Belichick, it's Sean Payton, not Sean McVay.
Sean McVay maybe on the offensive end, but just with his young players, and it worries me, you know, like I think back to that Super Bowl a few years ago when Carolina was in it and everyone was like, Cam Newton, you know, he was the MVP, he's the hottest thing, and he got clobbered and they got killed and they never made it back there, right? And that's what happens sometimes with young players, right? Like you get caught up and there's, like you said, there's 2 weeks of this Super Bowl hype that's going to come and all the interviews and for the young players that have never been there before, it's a big deal. And for all the players on the Patriots, this is just another week, you know, this is just another game. They've all been there, you know, pretty much. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the latest odds. Do you feel the Patriots are going to be favored? I feel they will be favored.
I haven't seen them, but I do think they will be favored. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they weren't favored this week is already a bit of a joke.
Well, they were on the road.
Yeah, they were on the road, but I'm sure you heard the quotes earlier in the week about like Brady was like, you know, we're not favored and we don't get respect.
Yeah,
and
that's
he tried
nonsense.
To, like, use it from that's just nonsense.
That's just them
like,
trying to motivate themselves, like what Michael Jordan used to do, and that's fine. If you need to do that to motivate yourself, do whatever you need to do. But I don't buy any of it.
No, I mean, come on. You know, they've been to the championship game 8 years in a row. I think they're cool with it. You know, they're okay with the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's football.
I guess that's football.
So do you want to segue to the next topic?
College basketball.
Yeah, we have to talk about college basketball. I don't know what's on your list, but we have to talk about college basketball.
Go for it. I'm glad you brought it up.
So, since the last time we spoke, Duke played 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
They lost on Monday in a very, actually, it was a good game. It was a close game.
Fabulous. That was against Syracuse you're talking.
Exactly, yes. And of course, Coach K and Jim Boeheim are good friends.
Right.
This game was at Duke, and Duke rarely loses at home, especially when they're ranked number 1, which they were at the time. Now, a few little things I need to mention before we get into the game itself. Cam Reddish did not play because I think he had the flu.
Yeah.
And then Trey Jones got injured in the first 5 minutes of the game, and it was a completely different game after that because, as I said to you in a text message, he might not be one of the top 3 recruits on the team, but he's certainly the most important player on the team, without question.
Because, and I know where you're getting at, because if Barrett or Zion are not there, like at least one of them's there, there's always that humongous 30-point a game scoring threat, no matter what.
Right.
As long as you have one of those guys, right? But no one provides that on-the-ball defense, you know, that Trey Jones does. But Syracuse is so frustrating to play against because they play that zone defense, and the only way to break it down is, like, not the only way, but one of the ways to break it down is you got to shoot over it. You got to hit your threes, you know? And when Jack White goes like 0 for 9 or 0 for 10 from 3 or whatever he was, and like they shot like 20% from 3 or less as a team, you can't win. You won't win the game. You know, that's just the way, that's how Syracuse is successful. You know, that's their recipe.
Even with that, and Duke's 3-point shooting was not good in that game, but you should still beat Syracuse because it's not a Syracuse team like that had Carmelo Anthony that won the championship. It's just an ordinary Syracuse team.
But we've seen ordinary Syracuse teams, like, didn't they win the play-in game last year and then go to the Elite Eight? That's what they're capable of.
Yeah, but they
right?
shouldn't. They shouldn't beat Duke at Duke.
No, they shouldn't.
Now, a few things about that game. So I gotta, give props to TSN because we got to see both Duke games on television this week. So
I feel like we see every single Duke game on TV.
almost. I should probably tweet at them and thank them for doing that.
Yeah.
And so hopefully they'll continue to do that.
You tweet?
No, but someone will teach me. So it's interesting because I was watching the highlights of the game, I think later on the Jay and Dan show or whatever they call it.
Yeah. SC with Jay and Dan.
Yeah, that one. And so there's no question that the most important play of that game was when Trey Jones got injured, because I think it was 12-0 Duke at the time or something like that, or like 14-2.
And he had 4 steals in the first 5 minutes.
So they show the highlights of the game. They show the only play they show from the first half is that heave at the buzzer that the guy throws from his own end that goes in. Which isn't, you obviously are going to show that highlight because it's a cool play. But they don't even mention the Trey Jones injury.
Well, because this is SC with Jay and Dan.
I know.
It's not Jay Billis and Dan
Schulman.
And Dan Schulman, they're the average Canadian viewer doesn't know who Trey Jones is.
This is true. But anyhow, I wasn't thrilled, obviously. But it's interesting. I was thinking about this. We're spoiled being Duke fans. Any Duke fan is spoiled because they've won, 5 championships?
Yes.
And all of them have happened in my lifetime. So it's not like they're from 1920 and I wasn't around.
No, they all happened since we've been following the team.
So the team is good all the time. There's maybe one year where they weren't good and they didn't make the tournament or something when Coach K was injured.
If they have a down year, it's just like one down year.
And
it doesn't happen often.
And they've lost in the first round of the tournament a couple times, so it happens. But my point of all this is, when Duke loses a game, I don't even okay, Duke lost. I'm not happy, but let's go to the next game. It's like, whatever.
Well, let's learn from it and see why we didn't win that game. And just the whole point is, there's some teams that are fighting tooth and nail to make it to the tournament. Right? Like that win for Syracuse is important because it might get them in the tournament.
Yes.
Just that win alone.
Yes.
Right? As long as their record is decent, that win could get them a berth, right? But for Duke, it's just all about what happens. It's just all about building and getting better and better and building on game after game, especially when you have 4 freshmen, right? All it is you're trying to teach Coach K is just trying to teach these guys as much as he can in a condensed period of time, right?
Yeah. By comparison, what I was going to say, and I'm going to have to switch to another sport for a minute here.
Yeah.
Let's take hockey and the team that we both like, the Montreal Canadiens. When they win a game, it's like, oh, they won a game. It's like a weird thing.
Well, because the parity in the NHL is so high. Like there's so much parity that every 2 points is important.
I know, but when the Canadians lose, it's like, they lost. When Duke loses, it's like, they lost.
They lost. Whatever.
Anyhow.
Because we know that these games are not important. We know the real games are starting in March.
So before we get to the second Duke game of the week, let me say hello, a shout out to... a
shout out? I love it.
Well, he's not a friend of the show.
Oh.
He's a former NBA player, and his name is Scottie Pippen, because... You probably heard what he said this week, and he said, for the listeners who didn't hear it,
he's a clown.
Is that Zion Williamson should not play another college basketball game the rest of his life because he's already proven that he's going to be the top pick in the NBA draft, and maybe that's true, and he shouldn't risk getting injured. Well, thank you very much for your opinion, Scotty. Now go back to your room. Zion has come out and said that he's going to continue to play for Duke as far as they go into the tournament. And why would he even have gone to Duke or any school for that matter if he was planning on sitting out half the season?
Well, I mean, it brings up because they started doing this in college football, right?
Yeah, but they missed one game.
They missed one game. They're like, I'm not going to play the bowl game because I don't want to get injured.
And it's a nothing game.
Well, I mean, yeah. But, I mean, we haven't seen someone do that in the national championship
game
yet.
And you're not going to.
You shouldn't, because, like, the whole point is, it's like, it should speak to your character as well.
Of course.
You know, like, are you competitive? Do you want to win? You know, like, how old is Zion Williamson? 19?
Something like that.
Right? I mean, He wants to win.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if he's not playing basketball for Duke, what do you think he's going to be doing 12 hours per day? He's going to be playing basketball in the gym, in his driveway. It's like, what do you think he's going to be doing? You know?
By the way, he's 18 years old, not 19.
Whatever. I didn't know. Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he has a driveway just yet.
You know what I mean.
But I do know what you mean. Yes. Anyhow, let's get to the next Duke game of the week, which was yesterday against Virginia. So at the time when the game tipped off, Virginia was the only team in the country left undefeated.
Right. Not anymore.
So not anymore. It was actually it was a great game because it was back and forth. There were lead changes. There were ties. And these are the games I like to watch. Again, I mentioned this last week. I don't want to see Duke beat Army by 50. I want to see a close game.
Right.
So, and you're actually wearing Virginia colors right now, blue and orange.
Yes, I am.
So it was a really good game, and Cam Reddish was back and played the whole game. Trey Jones was not there. And Duke was able to squeak out a 2-point win.
It was exciting. It was a good game.
Now I'll say this. Neither team could hit their 3-pointers. Neither team.
No. Well, Duke's not a great 3-point shooting team.
No, and Duke's also, I've learned, not a good free throw shooting team either.
Not the best. That worries me for the tournament.
It does.
You know?
It does.
But that game went according to plan for Virginia. Their whole MO is keep it into a 1-possession game. You know, they don't take shots until the end of the shot clock. They make you use up the whole shot clock with defensive intensity, and they try to drag the game out, right? And that's what they did. But
I don't have all the Virginia scores in front of me, but I think that was one of the higher scoring games that Virginia has played in.
Yeah, 72-70, but that's high for Virginia, but for Duke, they've hit 100 this year.
Yeah, I know. That's a low game for Duke and a high game for Virginia.
Yeah. So but that's how Virginia wants to drag it out.
So now it's going to be interesting. Not that I care about the rankings, but they do come out tomorrow, and it's going to be interesting because Duke won a game and lost the game, but Virginia also lost the game. Yeah. And I believe Kansas also lost the game, and Michigan also lost the game. So I wonder what the rankings are going to look like when
they're going to still be number 1. And actually, I don't even care about the ranking as long as Duke is top 4. I just want them to be a 1 seed in the tournament. You know, because it makes things a little bit easier, you know, but Other than that, doesn't bother me. And then now, supposedly Trey Jones' injury isn't as serious as they first thought. They
Thank God for that.
They don't have a timetable for his return.
Oh, I think he might be back next game.
You think so? I heard doesn't he have a separated shoulder?
No. They came out and said that the injury is not as severe as they thought, and there was even a chance that he was going to play on Saturday.
Oh, okay, good.
So he might play next game. Now, it's interesting. Good. Normally, Duke has a few days between games. They usually play on Wednesday and the weekend, but now Duke is playing, I think, Tuesday, which is a little sooner than you would have liked. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if he's going to play in that game, but it's not as serious as they thought.
Is it televised?
It's televised. It's on TSN. It's
against Pittsburgh.
Yes.
They're playing Jeff Capel's team.
That's right.
He's our former point guard and former assistant coach. Did you want to go on any other sports, or is that it?
No, I just want to say that in the Syracuse game, because of the injury to Trey Jones, Alex O'Connell got minutes that he normally wouldn't get, and he actually played decently.
I like him. If it wasn't for having this much more high-profile recruits, I actually think he should play more because he's the only one that could hit threes.
And he hit a few key threes in that game.
Yeah. He's a very, very consistent outside shooter, more than anybody else they have. But I feel like they feel like they have to play everybody else, right? So he doesn't get his minutes. But I was telling my son when we were watching the game against Virginia, I think O'Connell, you're gonna see his minutes go up. Just like you remember Luke Kennard a few years ago?
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, you get a little bit of playing time, you eke out the playing time, you make the best out of your minutes, and then hopefully your minutes are going to go up. So that's
the only thing that's going against him is that even next year when all these freshmen leave, there's new freshmen coming in.
Well, I know that's tough. That's always tough.
Yeah.
The National Basketball Association.
Can I lift the ban on NBA?
Sure, because I have two little NBA things.
So let's backtrack to June of last year.
Mm-hmm.
I told you that we were banned from talking about the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably don't even know why.
Oh, no, I do know why.
I felt like it's such a waste of time. We're talking about all kinds of games and NBA and different stories and whatever, and it's a foregone conclusion who the champion's going to be. We already know, and we still know. So,
although up until about a week ago, Golden State wasn't dominating.
I was feeling that too, but now DeMarcus Cousins is there, and their starting five is like ridiculous, and they're probably going to win again. So it's like I feel like I don't want to waste time and energy talking about the NBA when we already know who the champion's going to be the day before the day the season starts. But I do feel that we needed to recognize how great James Harden is doing, because that's the tear that he's on.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I actually texted you last night saying that I was watching NBA basketball. You couldn't believe it.
I was shocked.
Well, I mean, now that football's basically over, they have the ABC Saturday night game of the week. And I happened to be flipping around, and there was a minute left in the Rockets-Lakers game, and the Rockets were down by like 8 or something. Mm-hmm. And somehow Harden literally on his own ties up the game.
But have you looked at his game log? Like, I urge everybody to just go on whatever website you look at, NBA, click James Harden, and look at the game log and see how many points he scored. I looked at it today. He has 19 games in a row where he scored 30 points or more. Mm-hmm. And out of those 19, there's multiple 40-point games, and I think 3 50-point games, right? We're not talking about like, he's getting 30, 31, 32. It's like, the amount he's scoring is insane, and he managed to get like 10 assists sometimes when he scores 40 points, But we don't want to get in. We don't need to get into like the X's and O's of the Houston Rockets. They play like this unwatchable type of basketball, if you ask me. But because it's all ISOs, it's all James Harden doing everything by himself. The other guys are just standing in the corner. And then he either takes a 3-pointer, or he goes to the basket and dunks, or he says he got fouled, right? Like, no one gets fouled more than him, and no one complains about not getting fouled more than him, right? So
you should have seen the 3-pointer that he hit with like 20 seconds left.
I saw it, because the thing is, he could step back. Like, he could do those step back threes from anywhere. Like, he just dribbles and then step back, boom, and it's gone, and it's in, right? Like, it's mental.
Now,
he's an incredible scorer.
I agree with everything you said, and he deserves all the accolades, and he might even be the MVP this year. However, little asterisk, that scoring is up in the NBA.
Oh, way up.
So even though, yes, he's got 2 50-point games in there,
I know.
There are more 50-point games total in the league this year than there were all of last year, I think, already.
There's a couple of factors.
Like, what's his name? Derrick Rose has a 50-point game this year.
He does.
Okay,
yeah,
that guy, like, he needs crutches to get onto the court.
I know.
So,
I mean, 52-point game. Yeah, they made a rule change this year where the shot clock resets on an offensive rebound.
The rule is that the new clock is only 14 seconds.
Yes.
So you have to take a quicker shot. You don't have a full 25 or whatever it is, 20. I don't. So it speeds up the game, and it creates more offense.
But I don't know if that's only one contributing factor why scoring's up. The other thing is, I think it's the coaching, and it started in the playoffs last year. Like, again, X's and O's, but basically all the NBA is now is switching, right? Mm-hmm. It's you're setting a pick, and you're trying to switch your defender onto someone else and someone else onto you to get a mismatch. That's all what the teams do. That's what they're doing all the time. And it started with, a couple of teams, the Warriors and the Rockets, and now everybody's copying, right? So everybody in the league is doing this, right? So when you see Giannis Antetokounmpo dunking on a guy who's like 6'2", it's because of this, right? Because they're working their matchups and they're moving the ball around and they get a smaller guy on him, and then it's in the basket.
Speaking of Giannis Antetokounmpo, he can dunk from the top of the key somehow. I don't know how he does that, but he does.
He's a freak. That's why they call him the Greek Freak.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So did you have any more NBA notes? I'm so surprised.
One little NBA note. I don't know if you saw this. Michael Beasley, do you know what I'm going to mention here?
No, I didn't see.
Okay, so Michael Beasley, he's about to come into the game. I don't know what quarter it was. Yeah. And they always wear their tracksuits until they actually play.
Oh, I saw this.
So he goes to the scorer's table, he takes off his pants from his tracksuit, and he's about to come into the game, and he did not even realize, even after taking off his track pants, that he was wearing the wrong shorts. Like, he was wearing black shorts.
He really thought he wasn't coming in the game, right?
No, he thought he was coming into the game.
No, but when he got dressed pregame and he got ready, like...
But I don't understand. Like, you have a uniform. How do you not realize what... The actual uniform, I think, was yellow or gold, and he was wearing black shorts. So how do you make that kind of mistake?
But you're the one that told me the NBA has no more home and away jerseys, right?
This is true.
So maybe he's mixed up. Although then it's the fault of the the assistant to the traveling
but
secretary.
The shorts that he was wearing, they weren't even the road or home shorts. They were like the shorts that you wear in practice.
But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice?
Oh, it's like what he woke up in, what he slept in.
Maybe.
Maybe, right?
I mean, anyway, just I thought that was hilarious and I had to mention it.
I love it. I love it, Josh. I love it.
The National Hockey League.
You want to talk about hockey?
I have a few hockey notes.
Okay, let's go for it.
So again, since you mentioned uniforms, I saw some highlights of the Canadiens-Bruins game.
Yeah.
And you know how now, for the last 10 years or more, the home team wears the dark color.
Yeah.
So I saw the highlights, and I saw the Canadiens were wearing red, so I just assumed the game was in Montreal. But no, it was in Boston.
Yeah.
Like, make up your mind, NHL.
I think when that happens, it's like either the visiting team, in this case the Canadiens, asked the Bruins for permission to do that.
No, I think it's because
reason.
the Bruins wanted to wear some alternate jersey, and there was more white in it than black. And so they said, hey, we're going to wear our alternate jersey. Can you bring your reds instead of your whites?
Anytime the Canadiens can wear reds, it's great.
It doesn't even matter anyway.
What's happening in Toronto? Are people panicking over the Leafs? How are your Leaf buddies doing?
Well, they're not panicking, surprisingly, but it's interesting because they can't beat the Bruins. Like, as good as the Leafs are, they can't beat the Bruins.
No.
And somehow the Leafs actually beat the Lightning this week.
Right. And then they lost today to Arizona.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
but listen, ever since Austin Matthews came back from his injury and Michael Nylander came back from his holdout, or whatever you want to call it, the Leafs haven't been very good.
No, I saw their record. They're completely 500 over the last 25 games or something.
And they were also missing Frederik Andersen for some of that time. So, but now everyone's back. Yeah. So now they have no excuse. They should be good.
I mean, I think their coaching staff is approaching the season like how I described Duke, in that they kind of know that they're going to be in the playoffs, and they're just trying to get better. Although, I mean, the Canadiens are only 1 point behind Toronto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the Leafs are only a couple of points, 2 or 3 points ahead of that last playoff spot. So the games are important. You cannot go on a 5-game losing streak in the NHL. You just can't. You will drop in the standings big time.
Although that's not necessarily true, because remember how bad Pittsburgh started the season, and now look where they are.
Now I'm going to tell you, look where they are. Do you know where they are?
They're
not where you think.
They're in the hunt.
They're not where you think they are.
Where are they?
Because I look at the standings all the time.
I never look at the standings.
Pittsburgh right now is only holding down the last playoff position.
Okay, but I mean, they were in 16th. They were in 15th place in the conference.
Yeah.
A month into the season.
They've been hot and cold because they went on a big winning streak to get themselves righted, and now they lost a whole bunch of games to just kind of fall. So
a couple other little things. Did you notice that the Flyers placed Dale Weiss on waivers?
I did notice, and no one claimed him.
Maybe the Canadiens should claim him, because his year with the Canadiens was his only good year.
My son still loves Dale Weiss.
You see, I have so much in common with your son. We both like Dale Weiss. We both like Yaroslav Halak. Your son is a very smart person. One other note, I noticed that the Canadiens sent down, was it David Schlemko?
Yeah, they're doing the Canadiens sort of have a revolving door with the 7th and 8th defensemen.
I don't even care about that. The reason I mention it is because that note was on the TSN ticker for 48 hours. Because first, for one day, it's Canadiens place David Schlemko on waivers. That stays there for 24 hours. Then the next day,
He cleared waivers.
He clears waivers, and they've sent him to Laval. So for 48 hours, I had to read this on the ticker. But the interesting part was the whole time, and I can't believe no one alerted TSN to this. The whole time it says Canadians place forward David Schlemko on waivers. Like, do you not know that he's a defenseman?
They screwed up.
Anyway, and finally, the last hockey note.
Mm-hmm.
That I know you're going to be very upset about is that there will be no World Cup of Hockey next year.
I was thinking about you. When I heard that there was going to be no World Cup of Hockey, I was like, the only person who's going to care is going to be Josh. He's the only one that watched it last time.
By the way,
and it's proof. The proof is that you're the only one that watched it last time, because if they felt that they made a lot of money on it, the NHL would be fighting to have this.
Well, they did make money. There's no question they made money.
No, I know, but obviously it's not that important to them to just kind of give up on it.
The reason it's not happening is
they're worried about a labor stoppage.
Well,
right?
here's what I was going to say. You know you're in trouble when you turn on SportsCenter or you turn on Sportsnet Central and you see footage of Gary Bettman coming down an elevator.
That's like, never a good thing.
Or Donald Fear walking into a hotel. Like, I don't want this. I saw that this week and I'm like, oh, are we doing this again? B-roll of Gary Bettman and Donald Fear holding briefcases. Since when did that become sports highlights?
The B-roll of Gary Bettman going up and down the escalator, it's a classic. Honestly, for one whole year, the year that the NHL season was canceled, that's all we saw every night.
Unbelievable.
Oh my God, that's so true. It's kind of like unknown about what's going to happen with the World Cup of Hockey because they want to do a best on best, right? But then,
but you know what? They're probably going to go to the next Olympics. I'm pretty sure they're going to go to the next Olympics, assuming they don't have a work stoppage.
I think they probably will, and it just goes to show, like, they were just very, very stubborn. They didn't want to go to the Olympics when they were in Asia, but like they're willing to do,
But the next one's in Asia too.
You're right. It is.
So
it's in Beijing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see. I don't know.
Anyway,
I was thinking about you when I saw that there's no World Cup of Hockey. All right. So before we sign off, remember you can listen and subscribe to new and archived episodes of the Skip and Josh podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. And I realized today, Josh, I have not given a shout out to our favorite podcast app in a while, which is Overcast. And I thought of it this week because you sent me some links to podcast episodes to listen to, and you sent them through the Overcast app.
Yes.
Yeah. So all you people out there, Overcast, it's a great podcast listening app. We'd like to hear from you via email, skipandjoshshow@gmail.com, Twitter @skipandjosh, by liking and following our Facebook page. And of course, skipandjosh.com has all the links to everything I just said.
We leave you with this.
I need to get something off my chest, Josh.
Please.
So, as the listeners know, you are a big fan of PTI.
Yes.
Pardon the interruption with Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon. It's on every single day at what time? 5 or 5:30?
5:30, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you record it every day, or maybe you listen to the podcast version of it. So you had sent me a link. I was on an airplane about to take off to come back on a flight from New York. And you send me this link, say, listen to this and go to this segment. Like, go to the third segment.
Yep.
What do I hear? I hear Wilbon and Kornheiser talking about what's their most hated sports team.
Yeah.
Something that we had talked about. This is on Thursday, January 17th, PTI episode. We recorded our episode on Sunday, January 13th, and it was released on Monday, January 14th. So I just wanted to tell Wilbon and Kornheiser to go suck it. I hate them.
Or get your own content.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Because that's not the first time. And
No,
I know
it's
they're
not.
not listening to our show. I know they're not listening. They're not copying, whatever. But that's at least the 5th time that you've told me that we talked about something and then they talked about the same thing a few days later.
One time it was TSN with What's Bugging Ray.
Oh, What's Bugging Ray? That's a complete ripoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one thing I wanted to mention to you before we go is the month of February in this country is not usually a fun month because it's really, really cold. Although today has been terrible, and that's another story. And we're not even
just an update for the listeners. In Montreal today, the temperature was minus 22 Celsius, which is minus 9 Fahrenheit for all you American listeners.
I think it's colder in Toronto today than it is in Montreal.
Yeah, because it warmed up today because we had 1 million inches of snow.
We got that yesterday. You usually get the snow that we get a day later.
Right. Okay.
So, and we're not
That's
even
the
in
weather
February
forecast.
yet, but February is going to be worse. Mm-hmm. But there are 3 things to look forward to in February. Every
Do
February.
tell, Josh. Do tell.
One of them is the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The other
is that
one
in February this year?
So, yeah. The Super
Okay,
Bowl is
yeah.
almost always in February now. The other thing to look forward to is pitchers and catchers reporting.
That's great.
Yep. And the third thing to look forward to, normally, but not this February, is the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue.
Oh.
But Sports Illustrated sent out a press release saying that the swimsuit issue is moving to May, and we can promise it's going to be worth the wait.
Oh. Well. Okay.
That's what they've said.
Okay, good for them. I mean, you're right. It's been a tradition. It always comes out in February when it's like the dead of winter and there's nothing else, right?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. Well, we'll wait till May to pick up our SI swimsuit edition.
By then, I won't even care.
You're right. I won't care either.
All right.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you next time. We won't have any football to talk about next week unless you want to talk about the Pro Bowl.
Definitely not.
All right. Good. I'll talk to you next time.